Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles, where you can find the podcast on emmettmuckles.com, which has been redesigned today for the new year. Today is the day that the Lord has made, the universal creator gave us. So it's time for us to rejoice in this moment and be glad. The Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast is not about billions when we're regarding money, but today we're going to talk about some money. Today my guest is Connie-Sparks. I've been waiting to speak with this woman, and now I have her. How are you, Connie?
Hi, Emmett. I am doing wonderful. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year to you, too.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I've been waiting because I put out the call, and I'll tell you what spurred the call. The call out for particular guest, which was I was watching Killer Mike, T.I., and David Banner on a YouTube feed. They were having a conference, and they were referring how African American and minorities should start businesses in their neighborhoods. And I was all gung-ho and on board. And I was like, woo, woo. And then a couple of days later, I saw a similar summit. And then I realized something very important. They're talking about the rah-rah of starting a business and what you should provide for your community, but they're missing one fundamental piece, which is the financing. Most people don't have, the acumen for profit and loss statements. They don't know accounting. Most people in America don't even have financial literacy. But even saying that, if someone is looking or has a service or has a product that they want to get out to the public, I'm looking for people to say, here's some avenues that you can peruse so that you can get that done. So you popped up. My financial mentor.
Okay, I like it.
So how long have you been working in the financial industry?
About 13 and 14 years now.
And did you have any epiphanies when you got into financing? Did you have like, whoa, I didn't know it was like this?
I did. Actually, I was honestly thrown into the finance industry. And it happened because prior to the lending space, I was but still am conducting business development trainings.
Yeah.
And so in my classes, like when I would teach how to start a business or your business plan writing class, I would always get the questions, where can we find capital? I'm a startup and I keep getting no. Yep. And then I said, well, let me look into it. And so I started looking into all of the available options for startups and businesses under 1 year, who's been operating under 1 year, and absolutely could not find any resources. So then I started digging deeper, and it's like, well, looking at all of the advertisements of these banks, we fund startups, we like startups, but no, that's not true. That's false advertisement, because a startup to us is ground zero.
Yes.
That's seed money. To a lender, a startup is a company that's been established 2 years or more.
I'm so glad that you said that. Earlier on when I started a company, I started a disc jockey company, and it was a cash-based company. So I really didn't need, I went the poverty style. You worked for whatever you got. If you had, I had a DJ company, and if I had a speaker and some CDs, I did that, got some money, saved it, and did it again till I could upgrade my equipment. Eventually, I went to a bank and opened a bank account, and I was like, can I have a loan? She was like, you haven't been a business entity for 2 years. And I was like, wow. So what you're saying is spot on.
Yeah, and it's discouraging and it's unfortunate because you have the lending industry that are a lot of these banks that's really promoting, yes, we want to help startups, we want to grow our communities, we know small businesses are the backbones of our communities, yet they're not willing to bank on us. They're not willing to invest in us. They're not willing to invest into the proper programs to help the small or the entrepreneurs become bankable. So that's where I decided to take on that challenge, so to speak, and start up a new unit within my company so that I can help startups and micro business try to secure some form of funding for their business.
Now, in this day and age, we do have a slightly different avenue that we can take. So as you were talking about startups and micro businesses, which could be a solopreneur or somebody selling flavored ice in the summertime, that's a micro business. Crowdfunding has come to the forefront in many cases. Is that a viable option as well, or some of the strategies that you've seen that individuals can use in their portfolio?
Yes and no. It really depends on the type of products or service that's being offered. I operated a crowdfunding platform for a few years, and I was the only only woman African American who owned a crowdfunding platform. And I launched the platform because you have your Kickstarter, your Indiegogo, some of these other platforms out here that are well known only because they have the money behind them. But they picked and choose what types of products they would really push and would drive. So when I say yes and no, yes, if you have the proper product, the type of products that are doing really well right now, anything that's in the tech space, if you are a manufacturer, if you're in the cosmetic industry, if you're in the clothing line, that's another good space for crowdfunding. But then with that, you can't just set up a crowdfunding campaign and think it's going to run itself. So that's where a lot of people fail. So even if you go to some of these popular crowdfunding platforms, you'll see they have dozens of failed campaigns. And the reason why is because it takes work. So you have people who set up these campaigns and they let them sit there and they don't work them. So you have to have a network that you can actually work. You have to have social media. You have to be active on social media. You have to have a really good mission and vision statement. You have to provide an executive summary. So there's a lot to raising capital through a crowdfunding campaign, just as it's not as intense if you were applying for a loan, but it's a lot of work.
And I know that many of these crowdfunding services, if people are choosing to go that route, what many people don't understand is if you don't hit your target goal, you don't get any of the money.
Right. So they have the options are keep all what you raise or all or nothing. And so if you were to do the all or nothing, that means, okay, you're running the campaign, you're not being distributed any funds throughout the process. And then towards the end, let's say if your goal is 150,000, you don't meet that 150,000, then Kickstarter or a platform may say, all right, you didn't meet your goal, so we can't give you the funds. However, if you want the funds that you did raise and you want to keep that money, then you can pay an additional 3, 4, 5, up to 7% to get this money. And a lot of people are not aware of that. The other option is if you select keep all of what I raised, then your campaign fee is going to be higher, and that can be anywhere from 12 to 15%. So these are also, I mean, that's a very good question that you had. I'm glad you brought that up because people are not aware of that. And if you're not successful and you select the wrong option, you can work hard for raising capital and not get any of it.
So with these campaigns, and I know we've gone down like a little alley here, but this is so very important because it is a viable structure for the community to, if you have a community behind you, which makes me understand why you said you have to have a network. So if you're just trying to raise $10,000 and it could literally cost you. So does that money come off of the money that was raised, or is that capital you have to put up front for them to acquire those funds if they say this is what you need, this 7 to 12%? Plus there might be additional fees in there as well, I don't know how it works.
Yeah. So no, the funds come off the each transaction. So if a backer contributes, let's say $500, and their management and credit card transaction fee may come up to 9%. So that 9% will be taken off of that $500.
Gotcha. So it's not out of pocket. It's just that you really could not accumulate all the funds that someone had allocated for you.
Right. So yeah, it's not out of pocket. It's really just a matter of work. Now, through my platform, the campaigns that were really successful, and we work hand in hand with our campaigners, meaning that we had direct communication with them. They were able to email and talk to us about strategies. We work with them on developing their marketing strategy. We work with them on developing resources. So we were always in communication and also devised the proper type of campaign to run. So like, for instance, if you're product-based, or let's say you're an author, and you are you're finalizing your book, and now you need to raise, let's say, $10,000 for marketing, for distribution, travel, all those other wonderful stuff, right?
Yep.
So you can run a pre-sale campaign. And with the pre-sale campaign, now you're offering, you say, hey, okay, I have this book coming out, and if you purchase it, within the next 20 days, then you'll receive a free copy and XYZ, or you'll receive 30% off of the copy plus a personal signed book. So that's a way for you to generate funds before you even get the product out there. So the pre-sale campaigns were the most successful campaigns.
A lot of people don't know these strategies, and there's so much misinformation or near misinformation on the internet. And that's why I reached out to find someone who could really understand the jargon and dispel the information for us. Now, you ran classes talking about small business because this is one of the things that they really don't hone in. They tell you how to get your DBA. They tell you how to get your EIN or your TIN, how to structure your entity, but no one talks about financing and these little tidbits. Like, you really have to be an entity for 2 years. But then even when you're in business for 2 years and you go to a bank or you go to a financial institution, they want to see a track record of you being profitable or at least have an income coming in. Or are there other prerequisites for acquiring?
There's a checklist. There's a full checklist. So yes, they're looking at your track record. And ideally, even though you've been in business 2 years, the first year, let's say you may have been under the water. So you're in the red. But by year 2, you have to show some profitability. And typically a lender will give you up to 25% of your global cash flow. So they're going to look at your business cash flow. They're going to look at your secondary source of income, which can be a second job. They're going to also look at, let's say, if you have multiple people in your home, even though they're not a part of the business, but if they can use that income as secondary source of income. So in the event that you default on a loan or your business starts to decline, then you still have other source of income, one, to pay the loan back, and then two, to continue providing for your household.
Yeah.
Then they're also going to look at the credit, right? So your credit for SBA, you have to have a credit score of 700 or better. Even though they don't require collateral, it is at the bank's discretion to determine what type of collateral that they will accept. Then they're also going to look at any liens or judgments. And one of the most important facts I want to touch on right now, Emmett, and that is your credit report, right? So when they look at your credit report, you may have an old cable bill from 7 years ago, and you closed it out and you forgot to pay that $115, right?
Yeah.
Old cable bill. Well, an underwriter will go back and they will dig deep and see, oh, okay, you had a $115 bill 7 years ago. You need to pay that before we approve your loan. Everything else can be spotless, but that one thing, and you may be like, well, I'm not paying that because it was not mine.
Yeah.
Or whatever the reason may be. Underwriter, you have to literally be squeaky clean. You cannot have any blemishes. So I always tell people, pull a copy of your credit report, look at any derogatory remarks, marks on that report, and start working on them. Another option is, let's say if you were in a marriage and there was a divorce and part of that credit was not yours, you can write a letter of explanation and that will suffice. But you also have to prove that it is not your debt. You cannot have any debt on your student. You have to be, your student loan has to be in good standing.
Ooh.
You literally have to be
A1.
near perfect. Yeah, near perfect to qualify. However, for a conventional or non-conventional loan, if you have, like I have lenders, if you have a credit score of 640, I can still get you financed. The interest rate may be a little high, but you can still get the capital that you need, and start establishing business credit and start establishing relationships with these financial institutions. For if you want a loan greater than $50,000, they will require some form of collateral. It can be a car. I have a lender. They don't want any real estate. They will do a car, a boat, a plane, any other type of, asset other than real estate, as long as it's current and is in good condition. So there are options out there.
So, we've talked about some things. So you need 2 years that they're going to peruse your credit. Now, when it comes to the credit, is there a statute of limitation of time that they can go back, or is it, because I know usually about 2 to 7 years, you can, 2 years, you can do some really great repair on your credit.
Mm-hmm.
But I know sometimes there are these things that are lingering back from that 6.5 year mark that can rear their ugly head.
No, it really depends on the underwriter, because you have some underwriters are sticklers and they will go back as far as 10 years on you.
Wow. Then
you have those that will go 3 years. So it really does depend on the underwriter.
Gotcha. So if you got an 800 credit score, you're personally backing your business, because you're going to get a loan for the business, which you should be registered as a business anyway, as an LLC or LLP or a corp or something like that. But they look at your personal credit to back that business, correct?
Correct.
And see, a lot of people don't know this. Is there any other information or regarding the SBA? because you hear a lot about SBA, and I've heard some great things. I've heard some people say they got some great mentorship and they got some great direction to start their business, but you have to have skin in the game with them.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, typically with any lender, it really doesn't matter, but SBA in particular, because they're not direct lenders, they're guarantors, right? And they will guarantee up to 85% of the loan. So that's why your part of that is anywhere between 10 to 20%, depending on the type of loan that you're trying to secure. Like if you're trying to purchase commercial real estate, you can apply for it through a 504 SBA loan, and you will only have to put or show 10%. If it's a 7A or any other type of loan program under the SBA, then the banks are going to ask for 15 to 20%.
Now, I remember when I inquired about a loan, and I didn't really need a loan, but I wanted to buy some more gear. And the gear was like $5,000. And I went to the bank and I talked to my business banker. I said, I'd like to take out a loan. She was like, great, Mr. Muckles, you've been in business like 36 months. I see you are constantly putting money in the bank and not a lot is going out, so forth and so on. She's like, how much do you need? I said, I need $5,000. She says, my minimum loan is $20,000. Is there a minimum? Which made me go, huh? I certainly did a Scooby-Doo on her. Are there min-maxes for business loans, which may be different than personal loans?
Well, there are some lenders that will provide loans under the $20,000 that will do a $5,000 to a $20,000. Now, one bank that I used to work with that I really like, and it was Wadeco Springs Bank. They were recently bought out. Can't think of the names, but if your listeners were to go to WadecoSpringsBank.com, it'll redirect them to the new bank who bought them out, and they specialize in microloans. So you can do an unsecured loan from $5,000 to $20,000, and what that means is you only have to personally guarantee the loan. You don't have to submit any type of you don't have to provide any assets, no collateral.
Oh. Now I realize something. We're in a really good economy right now. Interest rates are historically low. Mm-hmm. Banks are throwing money at people. Literally, every day I go to my mailbox and someone's trying to throw money in my pocket. Mm-hmm. If the interest rates go up, do you think it'll be much harder for people to get these loans?
No, I don't think it'll be, any harder. And you mentioned that the banks are throwing money at people to try and get money. Well, it all looks good on paper until you walk through the door or you make that call, right? And then, because I had a client who just recently, he had called me because he had been trying to buy some more machinery for his business. And he had received 3 offers from B of A, Wells Fargo, and Chase. Yep. And so, he got the letter. He went down there and said, hey, I received this from you guys, and I want to cash in. So I'm trying to purchase this new machinery, and I need $50,000. They said, okay, well, let's look at your credit score. They started going through the 5 C's through their process. Oh, well, unfortunately, you don't qualify, so we can't give you, the loan. Well, why did you send me this letter? Well, that was from our marketing department. So I tell people, if they get excited, oh, my credit must be great because I'm getting these offers from the banks, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yes, I know that personally. I started getting them. I went through some troubling times. I mean, that's one of the reasons the Billionaire Lifestyle podcast came about, because I had a totally different change of mind as far as living regarding money and consumerism and stuff like that, because life is about living versus just chasing a dollar. And I realized that once my credit score hit about 650, all of a sudden I started getting these notices. Hey, you need some money? And what they don't tell you is there must be a threshold for percentages, because if at 650, or if my credit score is 650, my interest rate is going to be this. At 700, it's going to be lower. At 760, it's going to be a little bit lower. As soon as I hit 800, they're trying to give me the world.
Yes, that's exactly right. So the higher your credit score, the lower your interest rate, and you're in a better position to negotiate. So another thing that people don't, know, if you are in that scenario where you have a 700 plus credit score and you go to a bank and you ask for a loan, and then you can say, walk in, hey, here's my business plan, here's my loan package, copy of my credit report, you're providing with everything. And then say, okay, Mr. Muckles, we love your package. You're pre-approved for $100,000. Your interest rate, we have two options. We have the fixed rate, which may be 5.25% for with the 5-year fixed, and then you may have a variable at 3.25% at 10 years. Well, naturally, folks always want to go with the lowest rate. The lowest rate may not always be the best rate, right? Because if it's variable, and they're going by market rate, and the market rates can change daily, weekly, monthly.
Yep.
So you're starting off at 3.25, but at the end of the day, let's say within 3 months, you may be up to 6-7%.
Yeah.
So that's not always, the better case. So those are some other, things that people should also consider. But back to my point, Emmett, if you have that credit score of 700 or 800 and you go into the bank and they offer you the 4.25, you can say, hey, I got another offer from another bank, and they offer, 1.5 lower than what you're offering. They may say, oh, well, can you show us, a copy of the promotion or the letter? Well, I don't have it. And then they may say, well, so then there's nothing that we can do. But on the manager's level, the manager at his or her discretion can reduce your point if he or she desires to. And a lot of people don't know that. So no, we absolutely can't do that. Well, let me talk to your manager. Let me talk to the manager. Then the manager can make another executive decision and reduce your rate a point or two lower.
See, and this is a lot of things that people don't know, particularly, I grew up in Detroit, on the east side of Detroit, in a very urban area. This is education that they don't give you. They don't tell you how to start a business, because we are created to be workers. That's what America was founded on. And 2008 did a slight reset, and it made people rethink. It made the generation behind that rethink, because they saw what their parents are going through. So a lot of people don't want to go get a job. They want to go create a job for themselves and their friends. What other strategies are out there if you have a micro business, if you have an idea? Let's say you're doing something and you're making a little money. You're making vegan meals for your friends, and you're really popular and you want to expand. Are there options for micro businesses of that nature?
Yes. I would say if you are a hobbyist right now, that's what you're describing here. If you are a hobbyist and you really want to take this to the next level, then you start planning now. Set your goals. Set a benchmark. Okay, by 6 months, I want to be a legitimate business, and this is what I want to do. Okay, so now start putting things into perspective. You want to create that strategy. You have to have a business plan for financing. The other thing is get a copy of that credit report. Look at that credit report, start working on cleaning it up. You also want to start looking at doing market research, R&D, research and development, very, very important. Well, if you are already providing, servicing vegan meals to your friends and family, all right, so you have feedback, people, your family, your friends like your food, but they're not going to be your sole customers. So now you have to go out to the marketplace and you have to do a little bit research there. So I would suggest that, someone who has food, do offer food samples, do tastings. So you have to start positioning yourself strategically from a business planning standpoint in order for you to become legit, be a legal business, do business the right way, and secure capital. Yeah. Now, if you're trying to raise more than usually about $100,000 and you have a proven track record with your product, then you can get funding from a hard money source. So you do have hard money lenders out there that will, if you're in a good space, like vegan right now is hot.
Hot.
It is hot. So you are very highly likely to find a hard money lender that's willing to invest into that business. You just have to determine if you want to do equity or if you want to do debt.
Now, most people don't know about, unless you're in the real estate, don't know about hard money lending. Can you explain what a hard money lender is?
So a hard money lender is a private investor, and typically they're in two categories. You have equity. The equity investor is someone that sees the value in your business, and they are willing to give you the monies you need to start the business, to grow the business, but they're going to take a share of your equity. And usually the equity that they're looking for, if they're giving you close to 100% of the funding, they're going to ask for 60 to 80% of your business.
This is like Shark Tank on steroids.
Exactly. And if it's on debt, if they're just giving you a loan, then the interest rates there, you're looking at anywhere from 19 to 26%.
So it's like a credit card, basically.
Exactly.
And how do people find hard money lenders? I mean, like if someone's listening to this and they're like, hard money lender, I mean, do you just go to the internet and say hard money lender?
No. One source that I like is Crunchbase. Crunchbase.com is a really good source because that's where you have all levels of investors. You have both debt and equity investors on there, and then you can look at their profiles and it'll tell you the type of products or services that they typically invest in, what their options are, what their terms are. So Crunchbase is a good source.
Awesome. So are there microloan hard money lenders? And when I say microloans, sometimes people are just on the grind and they're like, I just need $2,000. If I can flip $2,000 and make $3,000, or I can make $4,000 with it, but I can't take 5 and make 10. They're just
no, unfortunately not. Yeah, unfortunately not in that respect. Yeah, no. If an investor can't make a good ROI on their funds, no, 5,000 won't do it.
So they're looking for ROI of they're looking for several $1,000 return versus a couple of $100 returns.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Now, okay, so one thing that I've done for a number of my clients who were looking for hard money lenders. So I organized an event. And with that event, we invited a group of people, both friends, family, community members, people that we knew were influential in the community, people that we knew had some level of stature, monetary wise. And we invited them to this event. And the whole purpose of the event, it was a pitch. And so I didn't tell them that, that was the purpose of the event. But when they came, we structured in such a way where my clients provided, we created a presentation, a whole PowerPoint presentation We had handouts, copies of the executive summary or of the business plan. We had the financials. Then towards the end, he gave a dynamic pitch. He only wanted to raise $60,000. He ended up getting $180,000.
Wow.
And so because it was personal, he made it personal, where he had he was able to really connect with the people that were there at the event, and they were able to ask questions and really get to know the person. Right. Because an investor is making an investment in you, not so much as the product or the service. That's a part of it, but they're really investing in you.
Well, that's awesome. How can people find out more information? I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge, and you're a voice that really needs to be more prominent in this market space. What do you have going on in the future? I know that you've been on a little hiatus here, but what's your perspectives for like the next 18 months?
So I do have several webinars coming up. So, I know you're way out there in the boonies from California.
Oh, I'll be in California on Monday.
Oh, wow. Where are you going?
I'm going to San Diego.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I do have several workshops coming up, webinars, and I'm trying to get my calendar here because I have an Access to Capital workshop webinar coming up this month, and I think your listeners would really get a lot of benefit from that. Okay. And oh my gosh, can't find it here, but I can send it to you. Yep. Or they can go to my website at Wadeco, WAD as in David, E as in Edward, businesscenter.com. Okay. There they can see all the list of services that we offer, learn more about access to capital. They can also see our calendar or the list of all of the events that I have coming up for the year.
Awesome. Well, I really want to thank you for being available to the Billionaire Lifestyle audience.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. Also, can I just, shout out my email address and my telephone number?
Oh, I was about to ask you for all of that.
Okay. I'm sorry. So I can be reached at C-Sparks, S like Sam, P as in Paul, ARKS, at Wadeco, WADEBC.com. And my telephone number is 661-753-3379.
Well, all of this is going to be on the website on emmettmuckles.com to point directly to you and to see how lovely this woman is. Gorgeous. So don't get mesmerized because,
You're funny. You're funny. Thank you, though.
One of the things that how often are you having these events? Are they going to be ongoing? Or if it's at a specific time, will it be recorded so someone who may, like I'm on the closer to the East Coast, so the time difference may not be conducive for me to actually participate. So are there rebroadcast or access to them?
Yes. So on the webinars, they will be recorded so they can be accessed offline. Okay. Some of there are a couple of the webinars that are have paid versions, but I tell you, for your audience, if they were to either email me and say, hey, I visited Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast and I'm interested in listening to this webinar, I will make it available to them for free.
So how about this? So we're just going to say Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. You got to say that.
Yes, they have to say that.
BLP.
BLP, absolutely. BLP. I'll know what BLP is, and I will totally honor that.
All right. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Well, I pray for you continued success in all areas of your life, mental, physical, and spiritual, and financial.
Thank you. I appreciate that again. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, remember this. You are a billionaire already. stop thinking about it in this recent invention that we call money, because money is just a vehicle. It's just a measure. When you really are a billionaire on the inside, you're a billionaire on the outside as well, because your constitution is of these things called cells, which constitute the self. Get it? Self. And if you really want to get down to the basics of it, when your ma and your pa got together, they had a little dance. And through the cosmic energy of the universe blessing their dance, 2 cells met, 2 became 4, and 30 days later, they were over 1 billion cells. So before you literally set foot on the earth, you were a billionaire. You need to live your life like I need to live mine. We are human beings. And the being part is what we often struggle with. So we need to be human doers. That's the part of the human we need to do for ourselves. We need to find our path and that. Sometimes it gets a little rough, and we get a little down, and you're at the end of your lifeline, which is your rope. Always do this. There's always enough rope to tie a knot. And when you tie that knot, just leave it there for a while. Don't do anything. And then what's going to happen is you're going to be resting. Pull yourself up and begin. Until next time, love you all.